Here.
Commissioner Giobi?
Here.
And Commissioner Reed.
Here. So, we have no one to provide the invocation, so we will just have a moment of silence.
Pastor James is here.
No, he just left.
Oh.
We can do the pledge. We can do the pledge.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag I would just like to recognize that Mr. Paul Nicoletti is joining us on the dais. He is not the regular city attorney, and he is
No, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
nice
be
of
here.
him to fill in for Mr. Baggett while he's on vacation. Can I get a motion for the approval of the agenda, please?
Move approval of the agenda as published.
We have a motion by Commissioner Clark.
Second?
We have a second by the Vice Mayor.
You want to change something on the agenda?
Yes, I wanted
Okay.
to pull the approval of the minutes from the last meeting, just to have something to say. I had a correction. I don't know if you do it during this process, or do I just?
No, okay.
Okay.
All right, so
So
I'd like
we
to,
have a motion for, is that okay,
I agree,
Commissioner Clark?
pulling item number 1, approval of 5/12/25 minutes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Any comments by the public regarding this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, approval of the minutes.
okay. Just requesting a correction, the minutes of the 5/12/25 meeting. My commissioner comments, my comments, it stated there was not only about Mr. Campenny, the email.
Oh, my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm way off.
Oh, okay,
I'm at the CRB.
okay.
Okay,
Oh, did you need to do
I'm having a
the
tough night.
comments before I?
yes,
Okay, so go ahead.
We haven't gotten to the agenda yet.
comments by
Right.
city commissioner.
You said it, that's why I did.
There we go. Come on, Mr. Mortel.
We're back on the beam.
There you go.
Commissioner Reed, do you have any comments this evening?
I just want to say congrats to Chief Zanelovich, if I said your last name right.
Dick.
And if also Mike, the city manager, could just explain in the charter that it's not necessarily up to the board per se, because it's not our chartered position, and that it's on you as a city manager when it comes for applicants and opening it up and interview process with HR, just so the public knows, because it's been all over social media, and my phone has been obliterated as well from it.
Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Reed was solely responsible.
I still have my fingers, though, so.
No, the charter gives the responsibility to hire the city manager and the city attorney to the city commission, and directs that the city manager shall hire the other directors within the city. And anybody that has any issues with the decision-making process or the process that I went through, I'm happy to sit down with them as long as it takes and go over it all. And it was a very lengthy proceeding, and I also was planning during my comments to congratulate Flamar for his position as well, and I will do that shortly. But the city commissioners, while they do set policy and do discuss things with the city manager, it is not a city commission decision. They do not vote on it. And I don't spend as much time on social media. I find a lot of it to be incorrect. And as a result, I don't go there, and it turns out in this instance it was incorrect as well. And there was not a political fix or something like that either. So that's gotten back to me as
Mr. Mayor.
well.
I'd point out to the commission that I had the exact same response when I appointed David Diaz after Chief Morley retired. And of course, there wasn't as much, public hoo-ha because of the, we didn't have. Yeah, we just didn't have social media as developed, but there was obviously a question.
Well, just to clarify, the commission may be adding a third employee under their direct.
Yes.
The commission has already directed that to take place back in September, or actually it was, I think it was just after the adoption, or the first year, but back in September, October, the commission did decide that it wanted to add an environmental attorney. The city attorney rendered an opinion back then that there was in fact language in the charter that authorized them to do that already, and as a result, they are moving forward with the hiring of an environmental lawyer, which happens to be on tonight's agenda as well.
So those are the only 3 direct employees of the commission. Commissioner Giobbi, do you have any comments this evening?
Just briefly, I also want to congratulate our new chief, and I want to thank everyone who was part of and volunteers and whatnot for the Memorial Day parade that took place on yesterday. And I want to thank the community. It's the shortest parade ever, but everyone came out and supported all of our fallen heroes, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Clark?
Okay, thank you. I have 9 things to say.
Uh-oh.
So I had 1, but 1 is 3 now. So, number 1, I just want to say I don't know if you can congratulate somebody when they're retiring, but thank Chief Tuminelli and his family and all of those who supported him, including his staff at the Stewart Police Department and us as a city family. So I really appreciate that. And then to congratulate Mr. Mortel in trying to make a decision and something that will last for the future for us to have Plamur Zanelovic be our next chief. So thank you so very much. And because these guys are so high profile, I've worked with my church in the past many years to have a law day in the first part of May. We didn't have it this time, but on June 8th, there will be a Law and Justice Day or Law Enforcement Day. St. Monica's Episcopal Church, 800 Central Avenue, 10 a.m., 1-hour service, and no secret. Chief Tuminelli is going to be it for the day. The ball is going to be in his court. So if you want to come and worship with us and fellowship with us, if you've never been in that part of the community or never been to that church, we have a really good time. I'm expected to ask Officer Shine to see if we can have the colors presented and to just really carry on some of the things that we've had for Memorial Day, to just remember those who serve us in our community, whether it's in the past or currently. And so Law and Justice Day, 10 a.m. at St. Monica's Episcopal Church, honoring Chief Tuminelli. And we did the same thing for Sheriff Snyder when he retired, and it was a very, very great fellowship time in our community. 1A, 1B. I can't, oh yeah, 1B. I just wanted to see if, I didn't get to come to the workshop of the MPO for the 10th Street, and I don't think I've seen any summary or anything, so I'm hoping that in the future I can hear from Jody or somebody how that's going with this, what was the response for that 10th Street when people came in. I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday, they came in and they gave some input on the traffic calming and just safety along the 10th Street corridor there. So I just wanted to hopefully hear something from staff. An email or phone call is fine, but if there's a report, I'd like to hear about it. 1A, 1B. Number 1, last week on May the 20th, Florida Emancipation Day was celebrated at St. Paul AME Church. This was a community event, and I really appreciate members who come out and celebrate, whether they're elected officials or just anybody, to just learn more about the community and to participate in unity in the community and trying to make sure that we are all our brothers' keepers and that we're trying to work to understand each other better. And it was a very, very great event. I really absolutely appreciate our mayor, who was not afraid to come out and speak and just feel a part of that group at St. Paul AME at the time. St. Paul AME is African Methodist Episcopal Church, and it was just a great, great afternoon. It's on my face. I think it might be on. It's on their page. If anybody wants to see that event, you can go to the St. Paul AME. They have a Facebook page, and I just want to thank this board for the opportunity to include small support for that activity that evening, and I appreciate that Mr. Mortel, our city manager, did a lot of work behind the scenes, and I know a lot of other cities and communities in Florida celebrated Florida Emancipation Day, and it's all a part of this whole time and season. Memorial Day, July 4th, Juneteenth, all of these things are coming up, and it's just good to understand our history and to work with that. So I want to just thank this board for allowing that to happen and for the support. Okay, on March the 30th, May the 30th, but I do have March on here. May the 30th, there's going to be lots of activities on May the 30th, but most for us here is a part of almost the end of Historic Preservation Month, and for the Martin County celebrating its 100 years of being a county. There'll be the Stewart Then and Now community event at the Flagler Center. I think it's from like 6 to 7:30 p.m. or maybe 5 to 7:30 p.m. I had the thing on my phone, but I took it off. But 5 to 8 p.m. at the, it's going to conflict with a lot of things, movie night and fish fry at St. Monica's, but it's all about our community and participate in our community. And we just want to make sure that people come out, try to understand some of the past, some of the people who have been the architects of some of the things that we have the benefit of now in our downtown area, and the vibrancy and the redevelopment from many years ago, back in the late 80s until now. They'll be there. Andres Donnie and Elizabeth Platter-Zark will be there, and lots of our community members will be there. I'm just asking that everybody who can, please go out to the Flagler Center and participate in that. Number two, on June 7th, there will be an event by the Cleveland Clinic. It's in, actually it's June 16th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. The Cleveland Clinic will be having an event called Navigating Healthcare in Communities of Color, and that's going to be down in Port Salerno, but it's for everybody in Martin County, and Cleveland Clinic is right here in our midst, and people need to go out and hear what other community members are saying. 6 to 7, it's right on Cove Road, and it's going to be a very great event to give input and to talk to the people from Cleveland Clinic and to hear what's going on with them. I was not here on Memorial Day, but I went for the first time to their ceremony at the National Cemetery in the Lake Worth, Lantana area. And it was an absolutely great ceremony. And I've seen other things that have happened in Martin County. And just a couple of comments that caught my eye from going, I think, before at the Salerno Colored School in Port Salerno. Just some comments. I know not everybody watches Facebook at times, but Commissioner Capps with the Martin County Board of County Commissioners, and I noticed other commissioners too, whether it's Commissioner Vargas or others who've used a lot of social media sometimes, just their interest in participating in going out to the community and learning more about the community. And I know there was a great event at the All Saints Church, and there's so many things that are happening, and I was just encouraged by seeing, how involved commissioners who are new to the commission, even though they might have lived in Martin County a long time, are in trying to get to know others and to get out there. I wanted to see what the status of Memorial Park is, but I think we just discussed that a lot at the last meeting with the CRA. But when is that work going to be finished, Mr. Mortel? 3 more months?
The original contract was until June of next year.
Oh, next year. Oh, I thought it was this June. Okay, so it's next
Still
year.
on schedule, it's just, they've got another 11 or 13 months.
Okay, all right.
A little while.
Okay, and yesterday was Memorial Day, and I had people ask me about when are we going to do something big in Smith Turner Park. I remember when it's a good thing that he's here today because he's military and he was the one who helped us get that name for Smith Turner Park.
I
Well,
did, but it was actually my wife that worked out
Okay.
of that, you know.
Paula, thank you
together.
thank you so much. And so I'm thinking, and since you're acting as the lawyer today, and I don't know if I need the commission's full support, but it's just an idea that I was thinking that I was going to go through the list because somebody asked me about somebody who's now alive, I think they're 96, about doing something for them for a plaque. But I was thinking, Mr. Nicoletti, about talking with the veterans and getting a list of people, especially those people, not just the 2 guys, Smith and Turner, and maybe when we have Memorial Day, to kind of have a wider community activity, if we could try to develop a wall of some kind, and maybe there's some of those people who are in the Korean War and other things, who are especially in the East Stewart community or so, if we could find a way to recognize them and do something at Smith Turner Park so that those families can go there. I know that in Memorial Park, we have the list of those who are on the ship there at Memorial Park. But if we could look at something that over the years, we could do a few here and a few there so that we can get some interest and some activity going. So that's something that I'm going to think about because every time we have Memorial Day, somebody asks, what are they doing? And I'm not trying to be separate and equal or unequal, but it's just about trying to get some inclusive things and to get some recognition going. So I'm going to be working more on that, so you'll hear more about me from that. 9, Law and Justice Day, 6, 7, Cleveland Clinic. Okay, Juneteenth is coming up, and there'll be an activity on June 19th at the 10th Street Recreation Center. And I'll tell you about the 10th Street Recreation Center. If you don't know about it, go visit it. Look at their monthly and their weekly flyers that they put out. They are popping at the 10th Street Recreation Center. A lot of people were concerned that because we didn't have the after-school program there, because they might be at the Boys and Girls Club. We have programs. Our Community Services Division, the 10th Street Recreation Center is active, and we have programs there at 10th Street. Visit them, support them, attend the activities, and support the community. That's what we need. Also, with that in mind, I will be talking to our city manager, and maybe we may have to come back to the commission, but at some point, there's a group that I'm involved with, and I'm saying it out loud because I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to get any special favors or anything, but it's called the Dr. Larry Howell Book Club, and they would like to set up a library and be more active in teaching children how to read, how to have an interest in reading so that they're more voracious readers and that they can really participate and improve themselves and improve their confidence level. So we're thinking of trying to figure out if we could use the 10th Street for that and use the audio-visual equipment for that. There's also the Boys and Girls Club. That's a good location, but if you hear about that coming up, that's where that's coming from, and we'll be talking with 10th Street and see if there's something there that can happen and how we can work to support that as an additional activity coming out of that thing. I think somebody mentioned that they wanted to welcome Mr. Nicoletti because he's our thing, but I wanted to say this, that I just want to welcome all these green folks, especially Miss Diane Wolford, who has been a friend of mine, and she has said, you've got to join the Hell's Gate. So they're here tonight, and thank you all for coming out. That's it.
Where's your T-shirt?
I didn't bring green today. I wore green the last time for mental health or something, but I'm still on Memorial Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You sure you don't have anything else?
I want to welcome my
you already
fellow
did number
attorney, Ms. Holmes, whom I just met recently, and I just thank you. We'll talk to you now that you're not in the hot seat. Afterwards, we'll see what happens. Thank
The vote
you.
is upcoming.
City manager,
Mr. Vice Mayor, do you have any comments this evening?
I have none.
Collins, you're getting too good.
I just have one brief comment, and that is to thank Commissioner Clark for organizing Emancipation Day, and it was held at Pastor James Church. And it's obviously a day of great significance. And I was very impressed with the diversity of people who showed up, and I think that speaks very well of our community. And it was interesting, informative, and fun. And the last speaker was Commissioner Clark, so you can imagine.
It was very brief. It was a very brief thing. Don't listen.
The last filibuster.
Okay.
Right, I've heard your brief speech.
And the city manager was, yes, he was pulled up on, up 3 times, I think you had to go up there. But, okay, do you have any comments, Mr. Mortel?
I do. First, I would like to congratulate Chief Zanilovic for becoming our new police chief. Procedurally, if we had hired a new police officer, there would actually be a swearing-in ceremony, but he's already been sworn as a Stewart police officer, so that won't happen today. However, we will be planning a more formal transition event and swearing-in event that you will all be invited to once we get organized with that. I'm guessing it'll be roughly the second week of June. As far as legislative update is concerned, all the bills we've been concerned about have not been vetoed, but they have not been signed either, so we're still kind of in limbo. The Housing Authority will be here at our June 9th meeting to do a presentation on what they do, and we can discuss the vacancies we have with them and how we would desire to fill those. Last Thursday evening, we had the 10th Street traffic calming, and several of the neighbors from the community came and expressed opinions and concerns and ideas. We will be organizing those and bringing them back to you, hopefully on June 9th at least, for just some summary, and then we'll also be scheduling a more formal follow-up meeting. We did in fact have the Memorial Day Parade yesterday, which was a success, and while it is a short parade, there's a lot of people in our community that are impacted by service in the armed forces, and whether they were there to memorialize the loss of a relative or a friend, or just to show the respect for the loss of those that served, it's quite moving and nice to see so many people committed to the neighborhood, or to the community. In response to Commissioner Clark's comments as it relates to the Smith-Turner Park and to making, recognizing our veterans, Memorial Park is actually better known as Veterans Memorial Park. Back in 1950 or so, a Lady Abundance that's now in Confusion Corner was put in Memorial Park, and then was later removed from Memorial Park in 1991, and I think it was 60 and 91 when it was put back in Haney Circle because it was too risque to be in Haney Circle. But in November of 2011, the city of Stewart, no, it was November 11th on Veterans Day, the city of Stewart redesigned and rededicated the comprehensive 4-phase design of Memorial Park, and the renovation included the relocation of the Veterans Memorial panels, the addition of the ceremonial plaza with 6 flagpoles representing the U.S. military branches, the man-made lake with pavilions in the wooden bridge, a bioswale designed to filter water before it entered in the St. Lucie estuary, and then in 2021, The Halipatioke chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution established the Never Forgotten Garden within the Memorial Park, and I've actually been communicating with them because we've had a sprinkler wreaking havoc on their garden that we're going to fix. But the garden commemorates the 100th anniversary of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, providing a space for reflection and remembrance. And today, Memorial Park serves as a central gathering place in the city of Stuart, featuring or amenities such as the band shell, the tennis courts, the shuffleball courts, racquetball courts, picnic areas, paved parkways, all of the other memorial items I addressed, the pedestrian improvements for the cross to the bank so that they can park. And we're also in the process of putting together an amphitheater that will also be a more centralized and much grander presentation for the speakers during the Memorial Day presentations and things of that nature. It would be very difficult for the city to start picking and choosing who should be recognized at which park. And I agree that Smith Turner has its own purpose and intention, but Memorial Park has really been a commitment for I think since it originally was called the 4th Street Park and ultimately became Veterans Park back in the late 1930s. So it's been a commitment of our community to recognize our fallen soldiers and those that served for almost 100 years. Just bringing that as an update. And then, let me just see if I have anything else. Today, there was a memorial for David Ford, that was a longtime employee for the city of Stuart that worked in the Public Works Department. There will be a celebration of life for Dave Peters on June 6th at Maria's from 5 to 8 p.m. Ironically, on the exact same day, there will be a retirement for Chief Tuminelli, and that will be taking place at the Flagler Center, and I believe that's from 6 to 9 p.m. And then I was going to mention the May 30th is the Historic Preservation Month from 5 to 8 p.m. Saving Stuart Then and Now is going to be the topic of the keynote speaker, which is Andres Duany. There will also be some other speakers, and I know that Jackie Lippisch and her mother are also participating in presenting some of the historic nature of it. And that's all I've got.
Jackie is actually moderating.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, even though we did it out of order, we did approve the agenda, pulling item 1 from the consent calendar. So,
We haven't public
wait.
comment.
Oh, yeah.
do we have any comments from the public on non-agenda items?
Mayor, I have one. Audra Creech.
Good evening. Audra Creech, 429 Southwest Camden Avenue is where I work. Just some quick things. Commissioners, one of you mentioned that there is a wanting to foster people to read. That's fantastic. Martin Reads is a part of the programs that we have in Martin County. You only need to be a level 1 background check to volunteer at a supervised location, and therefore you can become a supervised location. Hopefully you already knew that, fantastic. So that was the main reason why I came up, but since I am up, just to let you all know, I participated in a 5K for Veterans Wounded Relief Fund, or Wounded Veterans Relief Fund, I apologize, in Jupiter this past Saturday, and they have a Bonita Blast that's coming to, on August 9th to the Treasure Coast. And of course, I'm blanking on where, but it is going to be
Like Pirates.
Pirates Cove. There we go. Thank you, sir. So it's going to be at Pirates Cove if you do enjoy fishing. Additionally, a lot of times there's a tradition to take a veteran that cannot always be on the sea and doesn't really have the ability to necessarily have a boat, for you to take that veteran with you if you do decide to participate. It's a lot of fun, and it's one of the things that I really bring close to the heart, so I figured I would just bring it up since it is Memorial Day weekend, or just ended. And finally, I am a board member of Main Street, Stuart Main Street, and we have, of course, as has been previously mentioned, I wanted to clarify a few of the details. So it's going to be celebrating Preservation Month, Saving Stuart Then and Now, telling the story of downtown Stuart's revitalization. A lot of people think that Stuart just happened organically. Well, not really. In the 80s, quite a few of the smaller downtowns were significantly struggling. And one of the answers to downtown issues at the time, 1984-ish, was the Main Street programs. And we are one of the mature Main Street programs. I believe we were started in '79, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the reasons we have the city that we have today, as far as the downtown at least, is the program that was put in place by the federal government via the Main Street Federal, the state government via Florida Main Street, and then finally the various main streets that were created for the actual individual cities. So we just came out of a quarterly conference in DeLand, Florida, which is also one of our mature Main Street programs. So if you have any, if you want to maintain the city of Stuart, it may be a good idea to understand how it got here. If that's something you wish to maintain, is up to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paula Nicoletti.
You're in trouble now.
Good evening, Mrs. Nicoletti.
Good evening, my first time in many years. I wanted to thank Mike for mentioning about Memorial Park. I wanted to add that there are 2 original bronzes in Memorial Park also that the Stuart Rotary Club donated. One is for the male members of the military, and it's a gentleman holding a flag. And that man was a West Point graduate that volunteered to be the person to model that for the artist.
Yes.
On the other side, there is a woman, a female officer who is holding a child, and you can't see the child's face because it could represent a country, an actual child, a person, their family, but just wanted to remind you that those 2 original pieces are there. And if I may, Commissioner Clark, I just wanted to share with you my thoughts on Smith Turner Park. Smith Turner Park, I think, was, people asked me to help with that because they wanted to honor 2 people that were killed in Vietnam. In Martin County, there were only 5 people killed and 2 were from our Stuart. I think your idea is a very kind thought, but I think we are one city, and I think Memorial Park should be the place for everyone's
We'll
name.
get them there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Nicoletti.
Mayor, I have no more.
Thank you. So, pulling approval of the minutes from the consent calendar. Would you like to, Commissioner Giobbe, now?
Now, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That was my error.
Okay, just for a correction to the minutes of the 5/12/25 meeting and my commissioner comments. My comments were not about Mr. Campenny. That is what was in the minutes. I received an email from a constituent on Mr. Campenny's not-so-friendly neighbor column, and I used it as a segue to an issue of how important it is to send legislators to Tallahassee who have our best interests and welfare at heart, and it's on their agenda. So that's the only thing, and I have it typed if you need it. Thank you.
Where is the comment that we're referencing in the minutes? What
I
page
didn't
is it on?
print mine out.
I have the
Comments under
minutes
this-
pulled up if you want me to read
I
it.
mean, I have it, I thought I was looking at it myself, but
The comments
What
make it
page-
sound like I was just
what
speaking
page
about
is
Mr. Campenny.
Tuesday said she can read it.
The comment that was written after the meeting happened was, read an email received from a concerned resident with regard to the Tom Campenny column. So we'll go back into
Okay.
the video and we'll reiterate what was said.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start
when
with
we
a,
adopt the minutes, though, what are we gonna have it?
We can bring it back to the next meeting,
Okay,
if you'd
that's
like.
fine. We'll bring
Is it a
approve the
correction?
meetings
It's a
with,
correction, that's all.
with
it
that
is.
correction, or?
Right, I'm just wondering what that's what
What
I'm
is the
saying, what is
correction?
the exact correction
What is
it?
gonna be? Or do you want, we can bring it back, that's why I was asking for the correction.
You could tell us exactly what you'd like us to write if
Okay, I
So
didn't
we
bring
can-
it with me, the minutes from the actually, you have it.
Right,
It's right here.
No, the reason for her, the background of her comments.
Can you put it on the next agenda and then
I'm
change?
I
happy
can,
to.
I can have, we
Okay.
can go back tomorrow and redo
Okay.
them and then
So
bring them
just
back to
roll
the
it?
next
You can work
agenda.
with Commissioner Giobi.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
And I'll just email that to you.
fine. So that
We can put it on.
moved. Can we get a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor.
It does not include item 1.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
What?
I've got one little correction to the consent calendar.
Excuse me, Mr. Mortel, yeah?
It's Resolution 56, 2025. On line 3, there's a typo, and it's in the resolution title, not just on the agenda, but actually in the title. Needs to be fixed. It's not
All
all
OT lots?
OT, it's all of lots. It's, because it's the legal description.
Oh, I see it.
So we can make,
So
we
with
can
that-
approve this with that correction?
With that correction. yes.
Okay. Do you all see that? Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
Move approval of the consent calendar with the proposal to send in something to correct the minutes of 5:12 and to correct the title of resolution number 56, 2025, as directed by the
I
staff.
just think we need to
It's a
approve 2 and 3.
Typo,
Yeah, we're approving 2 and 3. Number 1's coming back at the next meeting.
yeah.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Clark.
Did she include 1 in there?
She did.
Yes, we said that we're going to
No,
change.
she didn't.
Just 2 and 3, Commissioner Clark. We're just going to approve 2 and 3
Do you
tonight.
mind restating that motion for 2 and 3?
Just restate it. Because
Move
it's-
approval of items number 2 and 3 and the correction of the typo to item number 2.
Thank you.
Perfect. Second.
And we have a second by the Vice Mayor. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. End of the consent.
And I would just like to say, forgive us for it taking 6 months. You know, I'm happy for you now. You can get that split and get to work. Yes, sir.
Mr. Nicoletti, will you read item 4 for our consideration, please?
Well, this is resolution number 53-2025, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, to authorize execution of a license agreement between the City of Stuart and Hellgate Sea Dragons, Inc., a Florida not-for-profit corporation, for the use of city property located at 400 Southwest Florida Highway, Stuart, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
I will be handling this matter. First, I also want to comment on the last agenda item as well. I want to let you guys know that beginning July 1st, the adoption of plats has been directed to be done administratively by the state, so those will not be coming before you because they're considered perfunctory. In any event, the agenda item with the Hellgate Sea Dragons, you might notice them here, the green shirts in the audience, is a group of people that is a rowing club, and they've been rowing from Jock Layton Park, and they go so far as to row from Jock Layton Park all the way to Manatee Pocket and back. And honestly, I can barely take a power boat that far. But they've approached us because there's some construction at Jock Layton Park, and they were looking for a place to store their boats and have some meetings, and they approached the city, and they would like to store their boats in Shepherd's Park, right there, kind of between the mangroves and the building that used to be Duffy's, where Duffy's used to store their trailers. And essentially, it would be a hardened surface of some sort that they would put in for the tires to not sink into the ground, obviously, and maybe some kind of post that would prevent somebody from hooking up their trailers and driving away. And then they also have offered to redo the deck that's outside of that building and finish that in consideration for us agreeing to let them store their trailers there under this license agreement for a year. And I didn't include any rent or anything because it would be a non-exclusive lease, and they would also be authorized to use the conference room or essentially primarily the inside of the building one night a month for their board meetings for however many hours it is, from 5 to 8 or 6 to 9, or maybe if they're like us, from 4 to midnight. but whatever their meetings might turn into. At the end of the year, I could bring it back to the commission, and if they were expanding it or if it was actually any substantiated use whatsoever, we could talk about renting or leasing space or anything like that. But it was such a light use that I thought I would come forward and ask for the authority to enter into this license agreement as kind of a test for it. And I should also mention that the city has received multiple FERDAP grants from the Florida DEP to do the boat ramp, to do the trailer parking, to do the swing set, to do the seawall, to do the whatever the plantings are behind the seawall that are designed for high tides and things of that nature. And with all those FERDAP grants come significant restrictions to the use of the park, and it must be used for recreational purposes, and we cannot use the facilities for commercial purposes. That is, I can't rent that building to a realtor because it has US 1 exposure and charge rent for it. I can only use those facilities for matters directly related to the park. When we did it down here in Flagler Park, we intentionally carved out what was back then as the Snook Nook, or what was the Coast Guard Auxiliary Building that's now Hudson's, which is why we can use Hudson's as a commercial enterprise. But when we did Duffy's and rented it to Duffy's, Duffy's was supposed to rent their little electric boats from the park and provide a service of renting their electric boats. And they just, nobody ever rented it, and it didn't work out, and which is why we didn't renew their lease at the end of the term. In this instance, we're not giving them an exclusive lease. I just mentioned it to the board as to why I'm not actively marketing that for some commercial enterprise. In this particular instance, and I don't know if they're here and want to speak or not, but it's a very active group of participants, and they honor cancer survivors, and it's an extensive rowing club. We're not talking about people that just, talk about it. These guys actually go out and do it. And they want to use the deck out back for when they return from rowing to, have gatherings, have their lunch or a picnic or barbecue or something like that. And then, like I said, once a month, have a meeting in the building that would be non-intrusive. So I recommended that we bring it forward for your approval. There is no terms to a license agreement at this point, because instead of drafting the entire license agreement and have the commission have a different direction, I wanted to bring it forward, and then the condition of the resolution be that the license agreement be approved by the city attorney and meet his authorization. But the terms of it would be essentially that they would redo the deck in exchange for the use for the first year, and that they'd be allowed to use the facilities for their board meetings, and that it's not an exclusive use of the facility, and that they be allowed to make the minor improvements necessary to store those trailers there, whatever that might be. They may have, their president maybe want to give you a couple comments if you want to hear from them.
And is there an insurance requirement on their part?
Yes, that'll be required. They have insurance already. I've already confirmed that.
Sir, if you'll just wait. Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor, do you have any questions of
So,
Mr. Mortel?
my thoughts were around, are we charging for this? Is this just going to be use for no charge? My understanding is it's a temporary arrangement for a year, and I would just want to see if we go beyond that we start looking at potentially charging rent. I think it's a fair exchange if they're going to be building out some of that infrastructure there for ultimately public benefit. My only concern is, one of the things we talked about was the Fraser Creek Pavilion there in our CRA meeting. Not that I think that's going to happen in the next year, but if it was to happen, is the nature of the language something like they have the ability to use it but are not guaranteed the right to have access to it if for some reason?
It would also be terminable. The commission could terminate it because it's a license agreement, and I can add that language.
You know what I mean? Like if for some reason we end up working on that.
Right.
if that becomes a priority. That was it.
Commissioner Clark?
No, oh, go ahead.
Oh, did I have my thing
Yes.
on
Oh,
still?
maybe you did it by
No,
mistake.
it's okay.
It's okay.
Commissioner Giobi, do you have any
I was
questions
probably
of?
gonna make a motion, but that's okay. go
Okay.
on.
Oh,
Why don't
okay.
we,
We're
why
discussing
don't we let
without a
Commissioner
motion.
Giobi ask Mr. Mortel
Right.
any
Actually, my
questions she
question
may
is
have?
for the city attorney.
Okay.
I read through it, and if I missed over it, just let me know. I didn't see a liability waiver in there.
There, the license agreement would have insurance and all of it in it.
Oh, I
You know,
remember I-
And there is a fundamental difference between a license and a lease. And the fundamental difference really is that a license is the city allowing someone to use its property for limited purposes. And that's what this is. But if the insurance is there, then I think the city will be protected.
Okay, well, that was my concern. I mean,
And if I could put
it's
it
water, it's
right.
decks, it's lots of people might fall, and,
Well, they can use the
Good point.
property in the deck now.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as members of the public.
oh,
but-
okay.
It's just, the only difference is they can't leave their rowboats, the boats there. But they could go to the park any day of the week now. Anybody can go there.
Okay, thank you.
So that-
So, you have a question?
Yeah,
Ms.
so I'm back again with that. So there's no storage, right?
They're storing
There
them
is,
there.
they're storing, that's why they're
That's-
asking for
that's-
this.
Oh, yeah, I know, but you had said something, that's why I wanted to be clear, because
They're
I
going to
thought
be
that you said that
storing,
it was
I
just the
believe, 2
meetings.
boats.
Yeah,
Or
three.
I don't know if it's 2 or 3.
Three
Yeah, okay, maybe I might have misheard, or you might have misspoke, because I thought that they would be doing something then, and that's what I'd read, so I just, all right, that's fine, that's good, cleared up.
Is that it, Commissioner Clark?
Are we getting free, boat rowing lessons?
I'm sure they'd take you out if you were interested.
Can we have a
But
motion,
first you have to
please?
ask for a t-shirt.
Can we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion, okay, second.
We have a motion by the Vice Mayor and a second by Commissioner Clark. Is there any public comment? And I would hope that one of you would come forward. Thank you.
Do we take silly pills tonight? Watch.
My name is Bob Wolford. I'm on the board and one of 6 coaches for the team. I say
Your
team,
address?
it's actually a
Your
club.
address, sir? Where do you live? What's your-
Excuse me?
What's your address, sir?
My address is 4165 Oak Brook Circle. I'm in Jensen Beach,
Okay.
Martin County. I would like to thank the city of Stewart opportunity to entertain this license agreement. In addition, manager Michael Nortel and Rand Cavo, they've been working with me trying to put something together for this, for our club, to be in the city of Stewart. Hellgate Sea Dragons, we're 5 years in the making. It was formed using the name Nautical Point in Martin County off of Sand Sprint Park. It's called Hellgate. We are a not-for-profit club. We're all volunteer adults. So we survive on fundraising and donations to keep us going. We have 2 platforms. We have a breast cancer survivor platform and an adult senior mixed team that also competes. The BCS, which is the breast cancer survivor team, competes local, national, and worldwide. We're also proud of the future of the BCS women. We have 3 qualified just recently this past month of the USA team to represent us in USA in Germany this year in July. In addition, HGSD has formed a composite team to go to France. So we have a composite team of women in our organization that's going to go to France in 2026. Also, we're also going to nationals in Sarasota. Our mixed team is going to go there as well. We were very, very active. This will be the first Martin County Dragon Boat Club, and if we establish a home base in the city of Stewart, it will be a proud moment for this community. This year, we're also working on establishing a community youth program. Now, that's huge. It's huge nationwide and worldwide. We don't have it. A lot of the Dragon Boat clubs in the state of Florida, they don't have it. Very far and few. There's approximately 4 clubs in the state of Florida, but we want it. We want to engage the youth in this community team. We This license agreement in the city of Stewart would give our club and the city of Stewart a huge boost in expanding our community footprint. We partner with Friends in Pink, which is an organization, local organization. It deals with providing funds for breast cancer survivors. We work with Making Strides, American Cancer Association, also the Boys and Girls Club. We collect toys during the December month for the holidays. We also work with Blue Line, Waterway Cleanup. We participated a couple times down there on the south end of Martin County. And we're also scheduled with TC Waterway Cleanup, which is the Marine Industrial Association of Martin County. We're going to be doing their July cleanup, and we're going to be doing that park. If I may continue, it'll only take me a few seconds, or you want me to?
No, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. We also work with Elevate Hope in Martin County, providing funds just recently for the tornadoes. So we do a lot of contribution. We're looking forward to a long journey with the city of Stewart, not short. We are not overly funded, but we would like to entertain, possibly in the near future year, a lease on some of that square footage in that building. But if we can afford the opportunity to park our boats and trailers there, maintain the grounds, and help the city grow, that's our goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions?
I do. Well, actually, the question.
Any
is-
questions?
No,
Yeah.
not for,
Just hold on, sir. Oh,
the question is for the city manager.
just let me ask. So how big a footprint will you have for the trailers and boats?
Right now, we're talking about a 50 feet by 50 feet location
Wow,
to
that's
keep those trailers and boats, so it's not large. We carry, well,
To identify it, if you're on US 1, looking at what's, it used to be the Chamber of Commerce building or the Duffy's building, it's between the building and the mangroves, right there. It was where Duffy Boats used to keep their trailers already.
Okay. Do you worry, is it behind a fence? You worry about vandalism or?
no, currently we keep our boats and our equipment for the boats at the Palm City Civic Center. It's wide open. No fences. And yeah, the kids come by and sometimes they, tomfoolery play with it, but the bottom line is we don't generally have a problem.
No, it's, yeah. So you potentially could have regional, national, and maybe international, I assume your events are called regattas.
Well,
Correct.
they're dragon boat races, and like I said, they're worldwide. There's going to be a lot of
But you could
recognition.
bring those events into the city, right?
Well,
Potentially?
Potentially, yeah, if we grew that fast, but it takes time. It really takes time. You got clubs that are 15, 20 years in, and they finally set up a regatta, which is actually a dragon boat race. The venue is the one that's responsible for the equipment, the location, and working out the logistics with the town and the city.
Okay, well, that's an interesting opportunity that may exist.
If that does happen in the future, Martin County Tourism Development Council will, sponsor events and help reimburse, just as a resource for you guys.
Thank you.
If there's some evidence of you guys putting heads in beds, if you guys can demonstrate that people are coming to Martin County as part of an event, just as a future resource as that evolves.
Okay, thank you very much.
Tourism Development, and her name is Narissa, is who
Narissa.
heads that up. Yep. You have people taking notes. so you
Absolutely. Copious notes.
No, okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Giobi.
My question is for the city manager. This would not affect the public using this space?
Not at all.
Not at all, okay.
I mean, I take that back. During their meeting from 6 to 8 on a Wednesday night, the public would not be allowed to go in and sit at their meeting. It would be their club's private time for meeting, but anybody else on any other given time could go sit on that deck and have lunch or whatever. Under the FERDAP grant, it's got to be a recreational activity and part of the park. So no different than the gazebo for somebody's birthday.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, I have another public comment. Gail
Okay.
Goldie?
Good evening, Commissioners. Gail Goldie, 1153 Northwest 12th Terrace in Stewart. I just want to say that I think this is a wonderful idea, and I think that the commissioners supporting this would be wonderful for the city. I just hope that it can bring in all of the things that they need. I'd love to see it grow and really be a viable resource for people to come here and do their rowing. And I hope the rowing community opens them with welcome arms. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Golding. Seeing no other questions from the commission, roll call, please.
Commissioner Giovi?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Vice Chair Collins?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes,
And Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
passes unanimously. Thank you and good luck. Mr. Nicoletti, will you read item 5 for our consideration, please?
This is Resolution 54-2025, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, confirming the appointment of Ruth Holmes as environmental attorney and authorizing an employment contract with the environmental attorney and providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
All the commissioners were provided copies of the contract a few moments ago. Do you wish to make any clarifying comments
I don't know
with
if the,
regard?
I don't know if the city attorney has any comments. I obviously did some work with Mr. Baggett on it, but primarily it was handled by the city attorney and Ms. Holmes directly. So I think Paul may be better suited to answer any
Yeah,
questions.
No,
you might have.
I'm happy to do that, but at the same time, I can tell you that I've read through the agreement. It is pretty typical of what the city attorney position provides for. It's pretty typical of what the city manager's position provides for. It does call for an annual base salary of $175,000. It does allow for termination of the contract within a notice of 14 days. On the city's part, it does provide for a 45-day notice from the attorney if she decides to cancel the contract. It provides for 80 hours of paid time off in her leave bank upon employment. That's also fairly typical. And it does provide for the payment of Ms. Holmes' dues to the Florida Bar and the American Bar Association and other professional organizations approved in your budget. And during the period of employment, it allows her to have minor non-conflicting assignments and representations, so long as it doesn't interfere with her full-time job.
Could you just clarify that? Because I know that
Yes.
people have concern about that item sometimes.
You know, it's interesting because was in mind since 2006 or 05. It's been in the
Mr.
manager's.
Martell's, yes.
Yeah,
In this particular instance, and Ms. Holmes is here, I don't want to speak for her, but I have been speaking to her about this, and she represents the Palmar property, or the board that manages that large land. Personally, I think the city benefits from her continuing to maintain that representation because of it's an integral part of the Everglades. It's a huge piece of land related to the water systems of Florida. The people involved within it have the exact same interests that we have as it relates to pollution and maintaining the property in such a way. And I think it actually gives her an opportunity to be in circles with folks that just being at the city might not even put her in, but being in that particular instance would actually place her in meetings that we wouldn't otherwise be able to get her in, that would benefit us and that would gain information. I don't know that that's the only specific thing, but I know that when she and I discussed it, I personally looked at it as kind of a bonus to the city if she could continue serving there. And I didn't say
No,
that.
I agree, that's a very good point. And my only thing is that she is our director employee. And I believe we inserted this into your contract, Mr. Mortel, is that you report on is it semi-annual basis?
If
Compensation you receive in that
Yep.
capacity?
you have to file it with the HR director or report it, right?
She does.
I don't, so I didn't receive any compensation, but I had some old clients that I was wrapping stuff up from, so I reported the names of those and had it, that I was doing it. It didn't interfere with my job. I
Right.
didn't
No, no,
do that,
it's-
but she would.
We're not
have a
trying to catch you, we're
responsi-
just,
She would have a responsibility to,
Hopefully you would've
well, I'm
called
just saying that I want to be clear that I didn't get any money, because tomorrow on Facebook, it'll be saying I got all this money.
right.
But in her instance, I mean, I know of that particular thing. I don't know who else she represents or what else is going on, but I also know, and the reason that it was in Paul's and the reason that it was in mine is that when you're in private practice, you have an obligation to the people that you are representing, and you don't want to just leave them high and dry. So if we wanted to separate that, we might say, great, can you start in 2026? Because she wouldn't be nearly able to wrap those clients up in that time. But on top of that, she couldn't just not take on new clients until she started with us. So there's like this gap time.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting that at all.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just saying
you-
I would like to know if she's acting in a legal capacity with other
You
clients.
know, actually, there's a confidentiality issue as well.
No, that's, yeah.
If it's a public entity, then it's not a big deal. But if they're private clients, then it is.
Right.
I mean, she could say, I represent 2 private clients, and last month I spent an hour on it, or 2 hours. But you can't obviously disclose who the clients are, what the matters were, so.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I think you have to treat her as a professional, just the way you treat Mike and treated me. I mean, obviously, if there's a conflict, there's going to be an issue for the attorney as well as the board, and it's up to the attorney that you're hiring to disclose that kind of a conflict, so.
Right.
I think you're good.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Nicoletti or Mr. Mortel with regard to this?
Yeah, I had a question.
Commissioner
On
Reed?
number 4, for the professional fees, is that like a yearly basis for the Florida Bar?
It is.
What's it cost, just for my knowledge?
I think it's $300.
It's in the $300 to $400 range.
Mr. Vice Mayor, you good?
Yeah, I would like to move resolution number 54, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion by the Vice Mayor and a second by Commissioner Clark.
Before we vote, can we hear the voice of Ms. Holmes? just to
Is there
say-
any public comment? How about if we have public comment and then we can ask
Okay.
Ms. Holmes to come up?
Mayor, I have no public comment.
Okay, Ms.,
Wait 1 second.
Mr. Breckbill?
My only question is regarding, actually, the last discussion, was a concern I had before, is exactly who and how are we going to control work product? Whose work product is it? If we get involved and join another case, you know, or she's involved with another case, do we keep her work product? Or is there a provision in here for that type of,
If she has another client, we don't have any right to it at all. It's not a public record, it's not within the scope of her employment, and she can't interfere with her representation at the city by handling it.
yeah, but if she's representing us,
However, she is a city employee, then all of her work product is the city's.
even if she's joining another case with another, where she may be exposed to other information that the city of Stewart doesn't necessarily have?
If it's a private client, then it's going to remain private. If it's the city or another public client, like the Palomar, they have the same rules that they have to follow as far as public records and open meetings, and so all of that's of public record.
Except for
I just
exception.
curious.
Yeah.
Good evening, Ms. Holmes.
Good evening. First, I just want to tell each of you, thank you for your confidence in me and taking this on. I know that if this were an easy task, it would have already been done. So I know that there's a lot of work ahead of me. I will say that. I also want to say that meeting each one of you, I guess it was over a month ago now, something that was impressed upon me, whether you intended to do it or not, was that I really saw the commitment in each of you for the significant improvement of the environment here in the city of Stewart, and primarily the health of the river and the estuary. And I commend you for that. I think it's one of the best things that a city commission or anybody on the east coast of Florida can do right now. And, you know, talking about the river and estuary, as you know, and as Mr. Stuckey has said over and over, it is the jewel of the Treasure Coast, if not the entire east coast of Florida. So this is quite an honor for me as well to work with you on this. With that said, I also tried to let each one of you know when I was talking to you that I can't do it alone. I'm just a lawyer. I've been doing this for a long time, but at the end of the day, I'm just one person. And I, therefore, look forward to working with each of you. I look forward to working with your staff. I'm quite impressed with, I met with Mr. Mortel for over an hour and a half. His knowledge of environmental issues, his knowledge of legal issues, of course, and litigation, far surpassed anything that I was anticipating. I look forward to working with your uniquely engaged community as well. And with that said, I believe that I start sometime in August. That could change, it could be prior to that. It just depends. I do have a lot of things I have to wrap up at my firm. And I will work with Mr. Mortel and your tough negotiator, Mr. Baggett, and whatever it takes.
Thank you.
I might point out that Ms. Holmes has executed the agreement. It does call for her to begin on August 11th, 2025, and so if you find that you're going to come early, we may need to amend this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. See no other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Rich,
Yes.
Vice Chair Collins, Vice
Yes.
Mayor Collins, I keep calling you Chair. Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Giobi,
Yes,
and Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Passes unanimously. I will be signing it, Ms. Holmes. Congratulations. Mr. Nicoletti, will you read item 6 for our consideration, please?
Yes, sir. This is Resolution Number 58-2025, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stewart ratifying the advisory board appointment of a community redevelopment board member, fulfilling the vacancy on the board for the remaining current term from the present to December 31st, 2025, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
I believe this is your appointment, Mr. Vice Mayor?
This is a ratification of William Laughlin on behalf of Commissioner Collins, who has recommended him to serve as Commissioner Collins's appointment to the advisory board of the CRB, or Community Redevelopment Board. It's my understanding that he's filled out all of the forms of the clerk and that he meets the criteria to serve. That is, he's been a resident of Stewart for more than a year. He lives in the city of Stewart and otherwise meets the bylaws.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to move resolution number 58, 2025.
We have a
I'll-
motion by the
I'll s-
Vice Mayor.
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Giobi. Is there any public comment on this item?
I saw Mr. Laughlin. I remember him from
Is Mr. Laughlin here?
election. He
No,
was
he's
here-
not.
He was here earlier.
No, he wasn't here.
No,
I thought he was here.
No, he
I
wasn't.
thought he was here earlier.
didn't seem.
He's just in your nightmares because he ran against you.
Yeah, he was in my nightmares, that's right.
He's not here this
He's
evening?
always
That's
everywhere.
when I
He'll be
saw
here
him.
soon. No.
He's always here.
Okay, seeing none, no questions or comments? Finally, commissioners, roll call, please.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Collins.
Yes.
Mayor Rich,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
and Commissioner Giobi.
Yes,
Okay, item 7, discussion regarding city action pertaining to the homeless.
This was a request from Commissioner Giobbe. I will hand it over to her now.
The homeless issue. Governor DeSantis
Your mic,
signed.
your mic.
Oh, sorry. Governor DeSantis signed HB 1365 to keep Florida's streets safe. This legislation requires counties to ensure that the homeless individuals receive mental health and drug addiction services they need while residing in a designated location off our public streets, prioritizing public safety. HB 1365 also provides alternatives for when homeless shelters have reached their maximum. It directs the Department of City and Families to authorize temporary campsites to do that, maintain sanitation, including access to clean and portable, operable restrooms and running water, provide access to substance abuse and mental health treatments, resources through coordination with regional and managing entities, prohibit illegal substance use and alcohol while on these properties, and enforce this prohibition. What it does not provide for, however, is how, where, and the monies to fund these alternatives. The county has a human resource department that tries to place as many homeless as possible, but the resources are limited. I certainly realize that the city does not have the means to build or provide housing for the homeless. But there are many organizations that on their own provide services to and for the homeless. I would like to propose that we continue to discuss with the county ways that we can provide a central point for these organizations to work together in helping the homeless. Pooled resources can reach a larger audience and make the county constituents of how they can assist their local church, synagogue, and organizations to join forces to combat this issue. I'm sorry, I'm struggling with bronchitis. I bring this up today so that we will continue to address this issue, which will not go away overnight. So what I'm looking for is probably a letter that the commissioners might sign that goes to the county to say that we'd like to do this joint effort to help organizations that help the homeless. I know that we don't have the money to do it ourselves, but these organizations do have money. They are not-for-profits. They're churches and synagogues. And maybe if they had a central point in the county or in the city that they could go to and pool their reserves and maybe help a wider range of homeless.
So you're talking about asking the county to give money towards these, what are you asking for?
Well, I'm asking for them to have a central person, like someone in human services, where it has a list of those organizations that do help the homeless. There's the Tent City, there's many churches, there's Pastor Guy, I spoke to him before he went on vacation. I just think a lot of them are out there kind of maneuvering on their own. And it'd be nice for them to have a central point and a place that they feel in the county that might be helpful in keeping them all together to do their job better.
Have you spoken to any of the current county commissioners with
I haven't
regard-
spoken to the county commissioners because it's my understanding I wouldn't do that without really speaking to the commissioners here, because it's something we'd have to go to them as a,
Well, just to get a sense of what resources they have.
Well, and Martin County has the, Martin County Human Services provides equal opportunity and supportive resources for the Martin County community with the goal of promoting a greater quality of life. The mission is to enhance the well-being of Martin County residents by offering information, referrals, resources, and services that address a wide range of needs. Through collaboration with community partners, it strives to support long-term sustainability, core values of compassion, integrity, reliability, and collaboration. Services include court programs, drug programs, cremation and burial assistance, emergency financial assistance for low-income residents, overdue rent, electric bills, and water bills, emergency prescription assistance, housing assistance, housing programs that meet the housing needs of low to moderate income households, homelessness assistance, including support for individuals experiencing homelessness, mental health and wellness, and opioid awareness, as well as their 211 helpline that connects the caller to the Palm Beach and Treasure Coast emergency line for access to foreclosure prevention, medical assistance, food assistance, community services, parenting resources, senior services, as well as other resources. But that's a county program
right,
now.
for individuals. I mean, I think that's probably any individual can call to get that help or get that information. This is a community, the homeless community are a little, they're not exactly very trusting. So what I was thinking is in talking to these other organizations where they have developed a trust with a lot of these homeless individuals. And so, again, I've spoken to someone in Human Services, but I didn't reach out to the commissioners because I wanted a kind of a sense of where everyone here feels about this. I'm not asking for the county to give money. I'm not asking for us to give money. I'm asking for a central place that the organizations that help the homeless can reach out to, someone in the county that could be able to direct them at what really works best for them.
But just before we get to the, Mr. Mordell, what has been the city's specific response to 1365?
The amendment to 1365 that really came forward was more restrictive in nature, and what it said was that any resident or business owner in any county or municipality could file suit against the county or municipality if they were not enforcing the state law that prohibits camping on public property, such as city right-of-ways, city parks, and things like that. The city of Stewart already had all of its parks closed at dusk every night, so our laws already had the parks closing. So we didn't allow, and we had in our code, regulations that already prevented people from camping or living in public right-of-way or in parks. That's been in there for over 20 years, and obviously we enforce it, but it's never been where our police go shake people down or do anything like that. But since the law passed in 2024, we've integrated additional policies, and I know I was talking to the new chief today, and he's formulating a list of the number of people we've served, who they are, and we can identify who the homeless are in the community so far. But what we adopted at the last meeting, at the second reading, was just an appellate process, so that if somebody was trespassed from a park or a public space, they had redress or an opportunity to come before the city to say that they were wrongfully treated or something of that nature. Our code already had the language sufficient to meet the state law. Now it's a matter of the city's responsibility to make sure that we document that we're meeting the state law, whereas before, an officer might see somebody in Shepherd's Park and that had started accumulating their personal stuff somewhere, and they might say, hey, you got to get that stuff and move it along. Now we actually document it, document the time, the place. They go back the next day to verify that they've moved the stuff, document that it's verified, because otherwise we could be sued. The other thing that made this law very complicated is it did say that the only place that you could legally allow them to camp or sleep is a fully sanctioned housing location or camping location, but the camping location had to have full facilities, bathrooms, sewer, water, shelter, et cetera. And the kicker was that the camping location could not diminish the value of any adjacent property. And that is about the most subjective thing I've ever heard in my life, because anybody would say it diminished my value, and like, how do you beat that? I mean, it's really
So
very
it's safe to
complicated.
say no such facility exists
Well,
within city limits?
we didn't have one before, but there's a couple of groups, I can't think of the one, but they bought the lot on the corner of Dixie and MLK. I'm having a mental.
Am I promise?
Well, it's not family. What's it? It's
La Jolla.
La Jolla bought that property, and I have never spoken to anybody individually there, so I don't know exactly what they were planning, but I had heard through, the gossip line or whatever, that they were looking to do some type of homeless housing there, but like I said, they've never come in for an application.
Would it have to
never
be,
met with us.
it has to be certified.
Well, it's a 501c3, and it would be.
It has to be certified Department of Children and Families for us to be able to take homeless there or send homeless there.
Again, I don't know that they've, this is vacant land anyway, so even if they said they were doing it, it'd be
Right.
3 years from now before it happened. So, for right
Okay,
now,
so-
that's the.
Because they
that's
have
The
to
the-
city's
build a
response
facility
is a
if they're gonna
defensive
do it.
one because of the potential for being
Our-
sued.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, which
it
is a
puts
bad re-
us into a situation where if we just ignore it, we'll
can't.
get sued.
Right.
If we allow it, that is, if we say, hey, we're gonna dedicate this park to camping for homeless people, we'd have to install all of the facilities, and then if anybody within earshot of that park claimed
Right.
that it diminished the value of their
Diminution.
property, we'd get sued.
You know, I'm just looking at La Jolla's website, and they clearly are not in a position to do housing for the homeless. It says right on their website, La Jolla is not an overnight shelter. It's a full-service daytime safe haven for those who are unhoused. So they're not prepared at this point to do anything. And the other thing, too, is I guess we always looked at numbers. I know the county would do an annual census and would find that there were 300, maybe 350 total, and that in the city, there were about 50 unhoused people at any given moment. And so from that standpoint, I mean, that's the scale of it. And so what Commissioner Joby is saying is not, I think, is that if we were to reach out to the county just to open a dialogue,
Open a dialogue. This really is not about spending money. We don't have the money to do this. What it's really is opening up a dialogue so that the county could hopefully have a point person that all of these organizations that do help the homeless.
well, they
do.
do.
They do have a
They
big
do, and
division.
the Director of
They have a big
Human
division.
Services is that
That's
person.
what they do. They're at
She is
Flagler
that
Avenue.
person.
Yeah.
She's the one that's charged with that responsibility
Because when
by
I
the county.
spoke to her, I didn't get that impression, but
Well-
maybe I'll have
They
that
do.
conversation with her
It's
again.
been,
Maybe she was,
I'm sorry, Commissioner Clark?
thank you. So thank you, Mr.
Nicoletti.
Nicoletti, for
you
bringing that up.
remember me.
So I was
How
gonna ask.
quickly she forgot you.
I was going to ask this group, just like Ms. Giobi mentioned, that maybe it's possible, we're almost into June now, and I can't remember when we had we had a joint meeting some time ago, but we'll have one of those joint meetings coming up again. Commissioner Campy had brought up some things probably a couple of years ago, but maybe we could, as a city, because I think we're going to introduce our attorney and other things, so we'll have something on the agenda. We probably might have development on the agenda if we have a joint meeting. But that could be something to purposefully bring up. I had promised that I was going to talk to Mr. Campy when people came in here the other day, and just to reach out on a personal level, again, to find out, after he brought in that one sand dollar throwing out and making a difference, that we try to bring it up at the next joint meeting to see what the status is of everybody on this homeless thing. And I know that it's hard to have it done, but it's been successful in Indian River County. Ms. Louise Hubbard, I don't know if she's still doing that now, but they have a homeless shelter up there. When I did DCF cases, we had parents and others who would go up to Indian River County from this area, so they kind of served the Treasure Coast. And it was a very quiet affair, and people would get housing and have a safe place to stay up there at the homeless shelter in Indian River County. And Louise Hubbard has been around sharing information about how they do things up there. So, you know, maybe we could again ask them to come down in concert with whatever Commissioner Campy is doing or thinking, is to ask them to come down and talk to us and give us some ideas of how their thing works up there without it damaging and bringing down the community. But I think that it works well up in Indian River County for that location. And I just think we need to probably put it on the joint agenda, if people agree with that. When Anita Kokobus was in charge of that area of the county, she did a great job keeping up with the homeless, and they had the February surveys in the winter where they would get out in the woods and do all kinds of things to get people out there. I know between the sheriff and developers and landowners, a lot of the quote-unquote homeless spots in the woods have been cleared up because people want to avoid, people getting killed and things happening out there in the woods. So a lot of that has been cleared up, but they are going somewhere and they're still staying somewhere, and the problem is not receding. So if we need to bring it up again, maybe we can hear more about this House Bill 1365 and impacts, and see what's going on with the impact in our community. Or I just think we need to bring it up at the joint meeting. And if I'd ask if we want to ask our city manager to try to bring that up as an item, and maybe by that time the city could at least have something to say about the matter.
I can tell you that House Bill 1365 was adopted by the governor in 2024, last year. So it's more than a year old. They did not amend that bill this year. That's part of the state statute already. I don't have any problem adding it as an agenda item, but are we offering the city is going to participate in this?
Just want to hear what's happening. We just want to see what we can talk about, put our heads together.
So I actually sit, Rob Ranieri House of Hope, we have an Affordable Housing Committee, and Commissioner Campy sits on there with myself. In fact, we will meet next Tuesday, so I'm happy to bring up your concerns, Commissioner Giobi.
Yes, thank you very much.
This is a very diverse problem, people who are unhoused, people who are working unhoused, and single parents, and then the homeless.
Children are going to school, I mean,
And the homeless, is most dire. Chief, is 50 about the right number mentioned by Mr. Nicoletti in the city?
I don't know whether that's still valid, but it was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was out of the room for.
Was 50, is that
Of a
sound
homeless
about
camp.
right in the
number of
city?
homeless camps?
Yeah.
I don't have
Not
an accurate
camps, but
number.
people.
Not camps, no, individuals.
Just
Oh, individuals?
In the city.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
about-
I'm not exactly sure. It could very well be fairly accurate. We do have officers that are far more connected with folks that are in those positions, but I don't have that number tonight, but it could be.
You certainly may, Commissioner Clark.
Mr. Chief.
Chief.
Chief, I was just gonna say, Chief, could you please say your name for us, please?
Yeah, you said it, you were spot on earlier, Flamor Zanelovic.
Okay, Zanelovic, Flamor. Okay, so we put people, I don't know if we do, but I know that I've asked people to be paid for to stay in the suburban and other places, because I've worked with the sheriff and with Family Promise and other groups, St. Mary's. We've had to put people, what is the kind of turnover that you know about of people who are staying in the suburban because of homeless issues?
I don't have any direct knowledge myself about the Suburban Lodge and what their turnover rate is. I haven't spoken with anyone over there. It hasn't been brought to my attention that there's an issue, although I think it's a variety of folks that stay at the Suburban Lodge. I mean, we do have calls for service there, but nothing that's, more serious than a normal call for service, and nothing that comes to mind that deals directly with homelessness or any of that type of issue there.
Okay. All right, no problem, thanks.
And that does go through the Martin County's.
Right.
Yes, they put the money into that, yeah.
Any other points you'd like to bring up, Commissioner Giobi, or?
No, but I want to thank you for having that discussion when you see.
Commissioner Campy? I will.
Yes, thank you.
Um,
Thank you, Chief.
All right, moving on, local government half-cent sales tax. Mr. Martell, are you?
Yeah, I wanted to bring this to your attention. The commission asked me to put it on as a D&D a couple meetings ago. I had been kind of waiting to see what happened with our environmental lawyer. So we do kind of have an answer now, and I can work with Ruth moving forward on it. But I also wanted, so that I could put together an agenda item to present to the board, to hear from you guys and hear what priorities you have. And let me just start by saying, the county, first of all, the state law that allows you to implement a half-cent sales tax only allows a county to do it or a city with a population of more than 500,000 people. So we're never going to be close. But when the county does a referendum and does this referendum language, it doesn't bind the city to that referendum language because we're a separate jurisdiction, but we get our proportionate share of the funding. Historically, the city of Stewart has tried to follow suit as closely as possible to the referendum language. And back in 2011 or 12, when they last did it, the city was able to acquire 52 acres of Haney Creek and do some other things, which was great. Now, there isn't, first of all, it was great too, because it was the middle of a recession, so land was cheap. But there isn't any watersheds available for sale right now. Most of it, I've kind of gone through and looked, has either been placed in conservation or at minimum is privately owned but is dedicated as part of an upland preservation and things like that. We cannot buy land outside of our jurisdiction or spend our tax dollars preserving other communities. So it limits the proposals, but we could do stormwater projects. You saw Clay Scherer was here earlier. He's serving on one of the boards, and I've had some conversations with him, but he got his doctorate in entomology, which is essentially bugs. But bugs and parks go hand in hand, and bugs and trees go well too. And he actually had been hired and put together a canopy or a tree program in Pennsylvania and also in Switzerland. And he and I had been talking about that, and we could present to you and bring back to you. And we actually talked about this a little bit the other night on Thursday night with the 10th Street corridor. The way these tree canopies or the tree program could work is you could fund enough money for anybody that lives in the city to, request one of 4 different trees that we'd pick out. And then if they requested a tree, the city would then go install it in their front yard and then would water it for 90 days or something like that with a commitment from them that they would maintain it. And we would be looking for canopy-type trees. Also along those lines, if you started at the railroad tracks on 10th Street, and if you look on Google Earth now, all the way from the railroad tracks on 10th Street, all the way past the grade schools and all the way to Monterey Road, there is very little cover. So if you're a kid walking from school, that is just sizzling asphalt all the way through. And so, we're thinking about maybe doing a tree program or a canopy program. 10th Street would be a great candidate. MLK Boulevard would be another candidate where it crosses Palm Beach Road and then goes on to 7th Street and down that way, things like that. And I'd be happy to bring a program like that back. Also, recreational facilities, clean up Fraser Creek, mangrove programs. We could do oyster programs. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I just didn't know if the commission had any, here's my direction and here's what I want. I will also tell you that we have essentially 2 months under our belts of money, and we might have April's already, but I don't know. But we got 180 and then just shy of $190,000 for February and then for March. But you have to remember, those sales tax are probably January and February, and they're the height of our season and the height of the sales tax. The amount's gonna drop down to some extent through the summer months, and then, of course, pick back up again in the seasonal months. But I was saying to myself, if it's $180,000 a month times 10 months, that's $1.8 million, and then I just said, well, what if it's $150,000 a month? And I thought, you know what, 1.8 to $2 million is probably a real number as to what the value is that we can anticipate for the next 10 years as far as this money is concerned. So with the direction of the board, and I can bring it back as a formal agenda item, and I will, but I was, before doing that, was kind of looking for you guys to throw out some ideas or some thoughts as to what you were interested in.
Well, I think that all of those items that the city manager mentioned, and we could do stormwater projects, do canopy tree program. Are you looking for direction from us as to which to do, or to just put them all together and what the possibilities would be?
And so without, obviously no one said, oh, I don't want to do a tree program, so I'll include the tree program. I'll include the stormwater program. I don't know if there's any others. The The, we have Fraser Creek, Poppleton Creek, Kruger Creek, Haney Creek, that are all water estuaries that could be dredged, that could be cleaned, that could be trimmed the mangroves, that could build boardwalks on them, that could be, there's a million things you could do that are, I could spend $100 million on environmental stuff. So it's going to be a balance of what we want to do and can do. I just was looking for, is there any prioritization or anything that you guys are really interested in seeing? Or do you want me to just kind of bring back several ideas and have you identify it? We'll also be bringing forward some capital improvement projects as it relates to stormwater anyway, but again.
Commissioner Clark?
Oh, all right, thank you.
Oh.
Were you finished?
No.
No, I wasn't, I was just going to have a question.
For
to-
Mike while he's
for-
speaking? Yeah.
Yes, okay. So I just would like to refer back to Vice Mayor Collins and what he said in regards to improving our parks, those kind of things. So it would be great to do that, use that money. If we can utilize that money for that, it brings some of our parks up to the level we'd like them to be for our community to enjoy. And the ones that, of course, are by the water is even more important. But I'd like to refer back to some of Vice Mayor Collins' suggestions.
Commissioner Clark?
Thanks. I could piggyback on that, but I'm still gonna leave it, because I have the dog park and Poppleton Creek. I just wanna go, this is kind of like my little wrap-up thing I'm gonna end. Since we're talking about parks and we had just talked about 10th Street, every time that we have a big rain, and we've been having lots of big rains, and this is not a city road, it's a county road, but right in front of the multi-family unit and where the water plant is on Palm Beach Road, there seems to be a drainage issue or something. And the water is just really high and settles for a long time there. And I don't know what we can do to make sure that we work with the county to try to get that better, because a lot.
Where is it?
It's on Palm Beach Road, just south of 10th Street. Between.
Really?
Yeah, this water gets really heavy and thick in there when it rains. That's just my other thing. Speaking of trees, and I can't remember if I'd ever brought this up with Milton before, brought it to this commission, but on East Ocean Boulevard, when we had put a lot of additional tababui trees or flooring trees of different kinds, out there's little markers that sit around them or sit beside them. Some of them have been sunk in the ground, some are lost or whatever. We don't know who helped fund those trees. And I just think that we.
That wasn't a city program, that was Dick Kibbe.
Friends of
and the-
something.
It was Dick Kibbe and the Martin
Yeah.
County Bar Association did that program.
I know, but they're just kind of like disintegrating in our sidewalk area. And somehow we just need to figure out how to make that look good and try to spruce up those trees and whatever it is that's around them. That's my thing. Then the other thing is the dog park and the Poppleton Creek extension over towards the dog park area. If we ever build that road there, now that we have multifamily there and other things, and the road goes through, we do need to look into that area and kind of figure out what's happening in there. And a lot of homeless people are in there.
You
So I-
guys, the commission voted, and the MPO first the MPO voted about 7 months ago
Not
to
to-
federalize the Willoughby extension.
Yes.
And then you had a PD&E study presentation from FDOT, I think 2 or 3 meetings ago, as it related to those long-range transportation plans, and they're going to include that extension. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but
Yes,
it's
sir.
definitely going forward.
Yes, sir.
And then the city last year, you had the city build a swing set and covered park area adjacent to that right-of-way, right by that multifamily on that open field by the dog park. And since then, we planted some trees, and I know that actually Commissioner Reed and I had been speaking too about when people donate trees, because sometimes when people die, they want to donate a tree. We've been steering them kind of that direction because there's a lot of open space over there.
Yeah, and I know that one time we had somebody come in and wanted to do some kind of a paid activity at the dog park, that we're trying to lease it to do something. I don't know what the
That was
potential is for that.
That was, you guys voted
Nathan
no to
Ritchie.
that. That was gonna be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
concession stand.
Yeah, I know. But I just didn't know if anything, any potential could come up in that area. That's it for today.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
So, just in keeping with the spirit of the referendum, right, is it possible to look at an audit if there is available land,
Money.
you know, for things like pocket parks, you know, are there spots we could eyeball that would have us,
Mm-hmm.
you know, looking at that? Again, a parks master plan, in terms of renovating some of our existing parks, but also, you know, that Poppleton Creek Park, I agree. If we could open that up a little bit more with light infrastructure, you know, I think the heart of the referendum was light infrastructure, not heavy duty, but Haney Creek's the big one. And I know I've beat this to death. I want that 2 acres to be locked up as a trailhead and park off of Federal, so it doesn't turn into a car wash or apartments, you know, in the future. I would like that to be, I mean, we could really make him crazy and make it Jeff Crosskoff Park, you know, something like that. Because he wanted it to be commercial. But I would like that 2 acres to be a trailhead, maybe even a little playground or something, but somewhere where people can park and then have a natural park to walk through from that direction and not just the other side. And something similar with Poppleton Creek. Light, natural park infrastructure, nothing heavy. I love the idea of canopy trees, you know, but for me, the land, more than the trees, the land, and then Poppleton and that 2 acres north on that Haney Creek. But as money's coming in, you know, one of the conversations is the ball fields. You know, people will tell me, man, that should be developed. That should be, you know, if you Stewart is zoned as Abacoa, you know, and Brightline's gonna be there, the ball fields has a bullseye on it. So, you know, potentially investing into your ball fields, bringing your ball fields up to where it makes less sense to try to turn that into some kind of development. And then next to the ball fields, the current garage site, you know, what do we do with that? Can that potentially be park space as well? Or is that destined to be Abacoa mixed use in the future? Those are my main thoughts.
We own the ball fields, and we own the garage.
We do, but just in terms of investing capital, is that sitting in an interest-bearing account that's separate, or is that just going into our general fund?
The half-cent sales tax would be a separate account that's
When it's
not,
coming in, is that where it's
yeah,
going to?
that's not going to the general fund at this
Yeah,
point.
Can it go into,
Cannot be used for maintenance
Right.
of any type.
can it go into an interest-bearing account?
I think it could. Well, I'll check with Jolie, but I believe it's in an interest-bearing account as it comes in, yes.
Yeah.
Maintenance of park.
Commissioner Clark?
There's no restriction on it, it's not per dap.
Thank you.
You done, Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Clark?
It vaguely goes into this whole, are we on number 9? Live local?
No,
Local,
number 8.
half cent, okay. So we're doing with the parks.
we're almost there.
Okay,
9
so with the parks, and since Commissioner Collins has brought it up, it's been a little while, and I will have to go back and look at the whole 10th Street plan. But I thought that something like the skate park was gonna go towards the 14th Street area, but I can't remember how the parking lot or any trees or anything in that area is. So I guess we do need to do a little bit more planning
Right there.
for that
it's,
area.
From like 15th,
Yeah,
halfway
yeah,
up.
triangle,
Or
yeah.
about halfway up to 13th, and then everything north of that is like parking lot
Uh-huh.
for the fields.
Oh, it does have so the parking won't be down towards the
actuals-
A1A side
The
there.
actual skate park doesn't quite go to 13th Street. It's like 15th up to about halfway to 13th. And then
Okay.
all of the rest of that above is parking.
Okay, I was just wondering about how that would look. And then somebody has brought up to me about using food trucks in the park when there are events or if we have big events. Not just a one-time thing, but somebody was saying that if an organization could potentially, and I know they have to deal with health department plus our regulations, use, and they were talking about the little MLK park on Park Avenue, as well as, you know, the big park, the big.
Commissioner Clark, how does this relate to the half-cent sales
No,
tax?
well, it's just about trying to figure out if some type of expansion with the park
And
would
that's,
even
and
trigger
that was
that.
kind of what happened at Poppleton Creek, and the person that had that proposal came in, and the
Yeah.
commission voted no.
Yeah, okay, and I just wanted to bring it up because it's been brought up to me. And since we're talking about using funds to do certain things, they're saying that there's a way for small groups to actually run the concession stand at these parks instead of,
But that
Oh,
would
I
have
know what
nothing
you're
to do
talking
with the
about.
Yeah.
Talking
half-cents
about James
tax.
Christie.
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
that
that's
we're
right,
going
that's
to
right,
use-
that's
It
right.
has nothing to do with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
tax.
I
It has
understand.
nothing to do with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
So let's just.
Okay, I just
Anything
brought it up
else with
because it had to do
regard
with the
that?
park.
Mr. Christie was mentioning that he thought we should dedicate the concession stands to the Guy Davis Park, but that's years away. And right now, when we do Sailfish Park and the Little League does baseball games there, the volunteer moms run the concession stands, and so
right.
you don't actually have employees, and it may be someday that it's
Big
big
enough.
enough or grand enough to actually have an operation there with an employee,
Separate
but that's a
issue.
long way away.
Thank you.
Commissioner Giobi.
And we don't want to be like the county, we want to be in business.
mic.
No, sorry. Oh, good, no one heard that. Okay, my only question is, can this be done in-house, this master park plan? Not that we have to send it out to a private entity.
Well, I'm gonna come back with a list of all the parks. I mean, that's not, I'm not gonna hire somebody to make a list, but I don't know, the master plan is up to you guys. You guys, when the commission wanted a design for Guy Davis Park, that couldn't have been done in-house. That requires engineering and landscape design and all sorts of technical stuff, and also where the lighting is and where the utilities are and the parking designs and literally the terrain of the land. I mean, you have to have
You're
architects
gonna bring
involved.
back a list of the parks, and then we
Right.
can start digging in.
Ties into our earlier discussion.
Perfect.
And.
This would be
if you-
citywide.
It would be
Right.
up to us to prioritize it then with an idea of the cost.
Mhm.
We are looking at 10th Street and improving the safety there, and we had that small meeting the other night. And one item that does improve road safety dramatically is trees. It visually narrows the road and slows, so that can combine, I think we should probably, so let's see what's available, Mr. Martella, and then it's up to us with the cost approximately, and then we can prioritize.
And Poppleton Creek and Haney Creek would be included in that
Well,
conversation.
when I said it for the agenda item, it would be, but I can tell you, one of the reasons that nobody actually rented that land that Commissioner Krauskopf had a referendum on was because FDOT requires a $750,000 deceleration lane for people to turn right into that 2 acres. So for us to make that a parking lot, even for a trailhead, would require us to do that deceleration lane as well. And so the cost is all relative. Is it just the cost of the trailhead, or is it the cost of the traffic light modification and the deceleration lane and the parking lot? And then are you gonna build a bathroom there and have a bathroom there for people to use? And, you know, it's a sizing exercise. What I think I'll do is just bring back all of these ideas, put them on an agenda.
Right.
We'll discuss it, and we'll
Right.
just keep moving through it until we finally
Right.
kind of get narrowed down. And I'll also try and identify some land here and there, maybe.
Fraser Creek.
Yeah.
Let's include Fraser Creek.
Yeah.
Because it's disgusting back there. Okay, moving on. Commissioner Clark, are you okay?
For a second.
Live local, we saved the worst for last.
Actually, this was another discussion that was requested by Commissioner Giobi. It was, the city attorney put it in as the Live Local Act. I really think it was more related to the the Hurricane Emergency Relief Act this year, because the Live Local Act was obviously adopted last year. The Emergency Relief Act being what rescinded all of the actions of all the states and counties from August 1st to the present, but it may be live local. But I'll let Commissioner Giobbe take it from there.
Well, no, you're actually correct, City Manager. You are correct. I put it as live local because what has been passed this year, you okay?
The two of you.
I know. It's like- Did you fill that cup with water that I gave you?
Okay, continue, please, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you, Susie. Susie has water for you. Okay, so you're right. The Emergency Act just kind of, I looked at it, it was like Live Local number 3. So starting with 2023, the state of Florida passed the Live Local to provide affordable housing. The state provided incentives to developers to build affordable apartments. All a developer had to do was agree to do 40% apartments at affordable rate based on the AMI, the adjusted medium income. And with that, they could bypass commission approval. But that wasn't enough to satisfy the developers. In 2025 legislative sessions, our representative passed several bills which will further ensure that our local government has no home rule, which is what we now have, where we have no say over how our city is planned and currently in the future. Florida is not a one-size-fits-all state. At this point, a developer can come into town, put in an application for development, bypass the commissioners, and we have basically 7 days to approve this. A massive redevelopment plan expected to change the skyline and coastal in Fort Pierce has been proposed. That proposal includes 17-story building on Hutchinson Island at the Causeway Cove Marina, which includes apartments, condos, a hotel, commercial space. At the May 5th Commission meeting of Fort Pierce, Commissioner Broderick stated, "There is nothing we can do." I suggest everyone watch the video. It was sad. It was a cold reminder as to how much the State House has taken away from our local government. I disagree with the commissioner of Fort Pierce. There is something we can do. We may not be successful, but there's always something to be done. This is happening all over Florida. We need a coalition of cities and towns to take our message to Tallahassee. The reason I asked for this to put on the agenda today, so that we can decide how and where we want to proceed from here. That would require the city basically reaching out to all these counties and cities who are basically affected as we are in not having any control over their local zoning or planning.
Okay, so I am the city's representative to the Treasure Coast Region, Florida League of Cities.
Yes, I know you are.
That is what it does. And there are 7 regions, and you were just attended that meeting. There were 5 other mayors in that room who have the same concerns you do, and they are connected to one of the most powerful lobbying arms in the state of Florida that represents the interest of the city, and they have been fighting these battles for years and years, and it's been an uphill slog because of the presence of the governor and the legislature. It's a Republican cold. You know, they have all the branches of government for decades now, but that organization exists.
And it does, and certainly I understand that there's a powerhouse and that they're gathering all of their legislative power with the other cities. But the River Coalition has been in power for how many years trying to do something with the river? And it's been an uphill battle, nothing happens. All I'm saying is maybe at this point we need to try something a little different, that's all. I'm not diminishing the Treasure Coast, I'm not diminishing your connection with them, and yes, I was at that luncheon. I sometimes feel that when you go to some of these meetings, we hear the same things over and over, but nothing changes. And that's my frustration. Nothing changes.
Well, I don't think you track the legislation that has been threatened in prior years and has failed because of the lobbying. And you're gonna have an uphill, you're gonna be on your own there because, all these elected officials are already very, very busy. They're very comfortable.
That's the key right there.
With the
They're very
Treasure Coast
comfortable.
Region Florida League of Cities. And if you're gonna try to organize something that in essence duplicates that without the substantial financial resources that the league has,
Work with him, beat him, join him.
yeah, you're welcome to come to the
Join 'em.
meetings. We have our own lobbyist that works with the league, and when I'm up there, he talks to me and he talks to the other league members. I'm actually confused that
Well, I
you feel
almost-
you need to duplicate what this group has been doing
Well,
so
maybe the group
effectively,
needs
so
to go in a
broad.
different direction. Because you're already sitting here saying it's an uphill battle, it's almost not winnable. So then why does the group even exist? So what I'm saying is maybe
Because
they
they
need
do
to.
win, Matt, they do win many battles.
Well,
they do
didn't
win
win
many
any
battles.
this
They,
legislative battle.
they actually succeeded on the increasing the limits of the sovereign immunity bill, which was significant. They prevailed on the CRA bill, which was significant. And I think there was a couple others, and I wasn't prepared to discuss what they did prevail on or didn't. The problem with it is that the state, as communications have changed for the last 10 or 15 years, every legislative session has taken some action to shrink the home rule side of it. And while the League of Cities has been trying to resist the shrinking of the home rule, it still gets attacked. This year was a bit of a backdoor because the Senate passed the hurricane relief bill without any of the destructive language in it on April 9th. So it kind of went off to the sidelines
Because it
and
was
was
a good
done.
bill at the time.
And nobody had any problem. It was going to be hurricane relief. It's 56 pages long, whatever. The House adopted the Senate version, Senate Bill 180 on April 30th. And then on May 2nd, the House substituted this additional language back into the Senate bill, passed it, and sent it over to the Senate, and then it passed on May 3rd, which was 24 hours later. There's no doubt that the senators all knew on April 9th, when they passed it when they removed this language from it to pass it, how the cities felt. But the 24-hour shift that they took care of, I don't know if it was really about this bill, or if the legislators took the position of, well, I need to vote yes for the hurricane relief, so I can't fight the fight on that because I need this to pass because the session ends tomorrow, or if it was an intentional, let's get this thing, slip it in 24 hours before the session's over so no one even has time to respond to it and pass it and walk out on the last day. And unfortunately, that's what happened. But it's not the only time it's happened. I mean, a few years ago was the plastic straws issue. No one really cared about plastic straws. It was a message of the fact that the state took away the ability for locals to say that you can't use plastic bags in the grocery stores, or that whatever it might be. And so we just slowly but surely every year are losing home rule authority. However, the makeup of the state government is that we are an act of the legislature. In order for Stewart to exist, the legislature has to vote for us, just like Indiantown was created a few years ago. And they created cities and counties under the pretext that we're supposed to be assisting the state in fulfilling its mission. And I think what happens is that the state decides that everybody should look like Orlando. And if you don't want to look like Orlando, then you're not absorbing your fair share. Because if you read the law that's already in place as it relates to ear amendments or ear reviews for the comprehensive plans, it gives us a mandate that every time that we amend or review our comp plan, we are supposed to dedicate sufficient land to multifamily to absorb the next 10 years of population growth as projected by the Bieber numbers in Tallahassee, which, was 1,000 people a day for the state for 3 years straight. It would be 10 cities of Stewart if we did that. So it's a complicated balance, and I don't, know if we can win or lose or what it is, but what it really comes down to is at some point, enough people in Florida are going to be impacted by it that they stop electing the people that are voting for it. And the truth is,
That is the key.
the truth is, we vote locally for our state reps. They're not elected statewide. They're elected locally.
The truth, though, is that over the years, without the Florida League of Cities, there would be much more erosion to local home rule. And they calculate, they know what they can win and what they can't at any given year, at any given time. But I mean, we've watched this constant year by year by year erosion of home rule. Florida League of Cities is well aware of that, and they've
Oh, I know
done
they are.
whatever they can.
I know they're aware, and I know that they've tried to fight the good fight.
Yeah.
It just, for me, it's just disappointing, it's frustrating.
so
'cause It's
frustrating.
not certainly going in our direction.
It's frustrating for all of us.
Right.
To Mike's point, short of publicly shaming Toby, Gail, and John, and better.
They've already voted, so.
Better people running, there's no
Yes.
leverage. There's no leverage. There's no group that is gonna get together that they're gonna care.
Well, just like we would change our legislators, that would be the purpose, is that all the people in the other cities that are being affected would do the same. Because that legislature has to change basically at the same time.
No one's coming to save us. We've gotta do it.
Yeah, Valerie.
It's us.
Well, I understand there's a town, in Madison is the name of the town? I think that's. their-
Small North Florida town.
Yeah, small North Florida town, they're near Tallahassee. It's my understanding that they've just refused. I guess a few developers had gone up, tried to
They're
live local,
cowboys.
and they said, no, we're not accepting your application. And
Is that the town that the governor removed the commissioners from office?
I don't know.
Because there's also, that did happen. There's a town that didn't do it, and the governor removed the commissioners from office. But the other thing is, like.
Then that
it-
leaves us to just
that-
do ribbon cuttings.
Right,
and-
well,
and
I mean,
bills.
it's sadly, and the other thing is that if you refuse, the remedy in the statute is that the developer sues you, and you get to pay millions to them.
So again, to the point, you need new butts and seats.
Yes.
You have no
Right.
leverage.
Yeah.
If you wanna
And
fight a
it's hard
fight,
to find those butts.
you want,
Yeah.
if you wanna fight a fight that fight.
Is there anything, can I?
Commissioner Clark, would you like to comment?
Again, I'll be off topic from the Live Local discussion. But Commissioner Giobi brought up something about the purpose of Live Local. And even though we can't, I would love to have had a private meeting or have a meeting with Commissioner Collins, because, and yeah, no, I'm just saying that we can't do it. It would be
Right, that's the problem, is we can't
it'd be unethical, but let me bring this up while I'm asking
Have the
this.
conversation
Let me
right
ask,
now.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, that's why I say, because I think from what you said, and maybe Commissioner Collins, you can tell me if those are what, like when, oh, this is Sean. I remember when you first came on, you mentioned something, even before the zip, you had said something about flat zoning. You wanted like no developers to do negotiations with PUDs and stuff, to have the zoning so that it's predictable, that people know.
Straight
what they-
zoning?
Straight zone, that's it, not flat, straight. And he mentioned that, and you kind of mentioned this, and, sometimes we go towards something and we think we're there, then we have divergent, points, but that kind of came up, and now, that's, state is kind of saying something, we say that it's taken away home rule, but then if we had something where people know this was multifamily, that was this, you can't do this, you can't do that, which is what our codes are for, then, it's like, well, I thought that's what he had asked for at some point. And so that's the kind of thing that, that is.
Is unattainable at this point.
Yeah, so, but, and again, St. Lucie County does allow for over 10 stories. I think they have up to like 22 stories now out on Hutchinson Island. And so having something else on that side of Hutchinson Island on, in the causeway there, it's not
It's huge.
anything
The
new.
complex is huge.
I know, but they've
I mean,
gone
we
through
don't
that.
have the land, thank goodness, for anybody to build something like that, but
Yeah.
Fort Pierce is referring to it as Dubai.
Oh, Dubai.
yes.
The mayor is very unhappy.
And I
Oh.
don't blame him.
It's a her, no?
It's her.
Linda Hudson.
Glenda, yeah. All right, so thank you. I just,
Any other comments or
we're back to
questions
the
regarding this item?
middle of the
Yes,
circle.
my comments were around really starting to discuss publicly Alora. I had talked to you
Yeah.
about that.
Okay.
That will hold accountable developers to that 40% of units.
Yes.
After speaking with you, I spoke to the city attorney and told him that I wanted him to add that when he gets back from his vacation, to add that as an agenda item. And we can, again, have the commission start like just adding things to it and reviewing it and updating it accordingly.
They can be very successful,
I hope so.
the LoRa agreements.
Cat and mouse, that's going to be our part.
This is a heated topic now in the league because all the municipalities are understanding that this is one of the few
Things you have left.
opportunities they have to.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll get a good.
We might as well have a good one until it's preempted.
That's right. And can I add one more thing to that? You know,
Commissioner
that- on that accountability that they should provide, I'd like it to be not that we have to pay for the report that would provide, you know, what housing they had, 40%, what housing they've given. That's something the developer should have to pay for. He should have to provide it, he or she.
I can assure you that they want to be the one that does it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Well, we can do it and they can pay for it.
Okay.
How's that?
Seeing no other items for our consideration, this meeting is adjourned.
I do want to